The sun hung low over Copper Ridge, casting long shadows across the dusty street as she appeared on the horizon, a figure out of the past, moving like a storm that had been gathering for years. Every step she took stirred the dry earth beneath her boots, and the worn paper hidden in her coat whispered with the promise of reckoning. The town looked exactly as it had the day she'd been torn from it. The saloon sign still hung crooked, creaking in the wind, the general store's paint peeled in strips, the color of old scars, and the sheriff's office remained the graveyard of justice it had always been. But the girl who had been dragged away screaming, nails clawing the dirt, was gone. In her place stood Magnolia Voss, woman now, forged hard by betrayal and years of survival. Her boots echoed on the wooden planks as she reached the general store. Through the dirt-streaked glass she spotted him, Tobias Crow. Her father. He was arranging tins on a shelf, his hands as careful as they'd once been counting silver. 20 pieces of silver. That's what he'd accepted for his daughter. Cheaper than a good horse. The bell above the door jingled as she stepped inside. Tobias looked up, and the color drained from his face as recognition dawned. A can of beans slipped from his fingers, rolled along the counter, and thudded to the floor. Maggie said nothing. Instead, she drew the folded paper from her pocket, the edges brittle with age, the ink still clear. 7 names. Names she had carried like stones in her soul. Tobias Crow, 4th on her list. His voice broke as he spoke. Maggie? Lord Almighty, is it really you? She studied his face, searching for traces of the man who used to hum as he braided her hair at night. All she saw was a coward, cornered and shrinking. His gaze flicked toward the back door. You remember me? Her voice was cold, steady. Good. That'll make this easier. He stumbled back, nearly knocking over a barrel. You don't understand. We were desperate. Your mother was dying. There were other mouths to feed. I never wanted to. 20 silver pieces, she cut in, her words sharp as a blade. That's what Cora Lane handed you for me. I've had 10 years to wonder if you counted them twice. His shoulders sagged. Where have you been? Learning things. Useful things. Like how to find 7 people who sold a child like cattle. She tucked the paper back into her coat as the bell above the door rang again. Heavy Boots stepped inside, but she didn't turn. Well, look who's come back from the grave. Came a voice she knew too well. Sheriff Silas Ward, 1st on her list. Her hand shifted toward the coat beneath her coat. Slowly, she turned to face him. Ward's face was older, his badge tarnished, his gut thicker, but his eyes were the same cold shade of cruelty she remembered. Sheriff Ward. Still wearing that badge, I see. That's right, girl. And you're disturbing the peace just by being here. Tobias tried to speak. Now, Silas, let's not. Shut it, Crow. Ward's hand rested on his gun. His eyes fixed on Maggie. Heard about a woman in Deadwood. 3 men found face down in the dirt after a crooked game. You wouldn't know anything about that, would you? Maggie's pulse raced, but her face showed nothing. I've been working cattle in Colorado. Quiet life. Ward chuckled, the sound like stones rattling in a tin. Funny, folks said that woman had a scar. He pointed to his cheek. Right here. Same as the one you got fighting us off that night. The scar throbbed at the memory. A gift from Ward's belt buckle. Plenty of people have scars. Not like that one. Ward stepped closer. His breath stank of whiskey. So tell me plain, are you here to stir up trouble? Maggie met his gaze. Just here to visit family. Pay my respects. Ward snorted. Make it quick. This town has enough ghosts. He turned, hand never leaving his gun. At the door he paused. And Maggie, be careful who sees that list of yours. When the door slammed behind him, the weight of his threat hung heavy in the air. He knows about the list, Tobias whispered. She nodded. This changed everything. She had hoped to draw them out, one by one. Now time was against her. Who else knows I'm here? In a town this size? Tobias swallowed hard. By now, everyone. Faces peered out from shadows, waiting to see what the returned ghost would do. But they didn't know she hadn't come alone. Daniel Cross waited beyond the stables, with a saddlebag of proof that could topple powerful men, documents, photos. sworn statements. "Tell them I'm at the Murphy place tonight," Maggie said, voice hard as winter ice. "Tell them I remember everything." Tobias blanched. That house is falling apart. Perfect. She left without another word. The Murphy house stood dark on the hill, watching the town like a vulture. Its broken walls offered clear sight lines and a back path to the canyon, where Daniel waited with fresh horses. As dusk bled across the sky, Maggie lit a candle in the window, a signal. Then she sat, gun ready, heart steady. It didn't take long. First came Ezekiel Marsh, lantern and shotgun in hand. Then Cora Lane with a hired gun. And at the edge of the property, creeping through the grass, Sheriff Ward himself. 4 of them, 4 names, and more would come. Maggie lit a second candle. The signal. Daniel would be ready. But then, a sound that turned her blood to ice. A child's cry, faint and terrified. "You hear that?" Cora's voice slithered through the night. "That's Lil Emma Briggs. Pretty thing. Her daddy owes me." Rage surged through Maggie, burning hotter than any gunpowder. They were still at it, still trading lives for silver. Maggie gripped her gun, heart pounding, as the night filled with the ghosts of what was and what would be. The first stars were beginning to prick the darkening sky as she strode toward Copper Ridge, her silhouette sharp against the dying light. With every step, her boots stirred the dust of a town that had forgotten her, and the fragile paper hidden in her coat rustled softly, a reminder of promises broken and debts long overdue. Copper Ridge looked just as it had the day she'd been stolen from it. The saloon sign still hung crooked, groaning in the wind. The general store's paint flaked off like dried skin, and the sheriff's office stood unchanged where justice had been buried long ago. But she wasn't a little girl who'd been torn from this place. She was Magnolia Voss now, forged by loss and vengeance, with a purpose as sharp as a knife hidden at her hip. Her steps carried her to the general store, where inside she spotted him, Tobias Crow. Her father. His hands were steady as they arranged tins on the shelf. The same hands that had counted silver coins a night. He sold her 20 silver pieces. Cheaper than a mule. The door's bell jingled as she stepped inside. Tobias looked up and froze. His face drained of blood, his fingers clumsy as it can topple from his grasp and clattered to the floor. Maggie said nothing. She drew out the folded slip of paper, edges frayed and yellowed, but the writing clear. 7 names. Tobias Crow was the 4th. Maggie, his voice cracked, brittle as dry bark. "Lord above, is that really you?" She studied him, searching for a man who'd once hummed to lull her to sleep. But all she saw was a man hollowed by guilt and cowardice. His eyes flicked toward the back door. "You remember me?" she said, her voice as cold as steel. "That'll save time." He stumbled backward, knocking into a barrel. "You don't understand, child. We were starving. Your mother was sick. I had no choice." 20 silver pieces, she interrupted, her words cutting him down. "That's what Cora Lane gave you for me. I've had a decade to wonder if you counted them twice." He slumped, defeated. "Where have you been?" "Learning. Things that matter. Things that bring people like you to justice." She tucked the paper back into her coat as the door behind her swung open. Heavy boots thudded across the floor. "Well now, ghosts do walk after all," came the voice she'd never forget. Sheriff Silas Ward, first on her list. Her hand shifted toward the coat hidden under her coat. She turned, slow and steady. Ward looked older, thicker, but those eyes were as cruel as ever. "Sheriff Ward," she said, "still polishing that badge." "Still keeping order in Copper Ridge," he sneered. "And you're disturbing it just by standing here." Tobias tried to interject. "Silas, she—" "Quiet, Crow," Ward snapped, his hand hovering near his holster. His eyes narrowed at Maggie. "I heard about a woman in Deadwood. 3 men dead after a rig game. Wouldn't be you, would it?" Her heart raced, but her face stayed blank. "Been working cattle in Colorado." Ward smirked. "Strange. Folks said that woman had a scar." He tapped his cheek. "Same as yours. From when you fought us off that night." She felt the scar burn, as if his words had reopened it. "Plenty of people have scars. Not like that one." He stepped closer. She could smell the whiskey on his breath. "Now tell me, Plain, are you here to stir up trouble?" "I came to see family. Pay your respects." Ward snorted. "Then do it quick. We don't need more ghosts haunting this town." He turned, but paused at the door. "And Maggie, be careful who sees that list. Some names won't like the attention." When the door slammed shut, the store felt colder. Tobias whispered, "He knows about the list." Maggie nodded grimly. "Who else knows I'm here? In this town? By now, everyone." She hadn't come alone. Daniel Cross was waiting beyond the canyon with evidence enough to tear their world down. Sworn statements, records, photographs. "Tell them I'm at the Murphy place tonight," she ordered Tobias. "Tell them I remember everything." He looked at her, fear in his eyes. That house is falling down. All the better. The Murphy house was a ruin on the hill, broken windows staring down at Copper Ridge like hollow eyes. Maggie lit a candle in the window and waited, gun in hand. They came soon enough. Ezekiel Marsh with his lantern and shotgun, Cora Lane with a hired thug, and creeping through the grass, Sheriff Ward, thinking himself clever. Maggie lit a second candle, signaling Daniel. But then, a sound that froze her blood. A child's cry. "You hear that, girl?" Cora's voice dripped honey and poison. "You come out with your hands high. Little Emma goes home safe. Try anything smart, and she's gone forever." Maggie peered through the crack wall. Cora clutched a golden-haired child in a torn dress, terror written across the girl's face. Ward barked, "Call off your friends, or this ends ugly." "What do you want?" Maggie stalled. "The list. All copies. Now. And if I don't?" Cora laughed, a sound like shattering glass. "Then you watch her learn the same lesson you did." Maggie's rage built like a storm. They hadn't changed, but she had. "Fine," she called out, sounding beaten. "I'm coming out. But first, hear me. Make it quick," Ward growled. Maggie's voice rang across the hill. 10 years ago, 7 people in this town sold a child for silver. Tonight, 4 of them are out here trying to do it again. Windows lit up below. People stepped outside, drawn by the noise. The names are Silas Ward, Ezekiel Marsh, Cora Lane, Tobias Crow, Mayor Webb, Dr. Voss, Royce Barrett. They sold me, and now they're at it again. "Shut your mouth," Ward shouted, but it was too late. People were coming, rifles in hand, faces grim. "You want to trade, Cora?" Maggie called. "Do it here. No tricks." Cora wavered, seeing the crowd. "Emma, go on home to your mama." The girl stumbled forward, too scared to run. "Come to me, sweetheart," Maggie coaxed. Emma took a step, just as Mayor Webb, Voss, and Barrett appeared, guns drawn. "This woman's a murderer." Webb roared, "She's here to destroy us." But the crowd was turning on them. "What about the children?" a woman shouted. Ward's gun wavered. "This is official business. Go home." His authority crumbled. Maggie urged Emma to run, to Clara Doyle, who gathered the girl up safely. Barrett raised his rifle. "End this now." A voice cut through the night. "I wouldn't." Daniel Cross stepped forward, marshals at his side. "Daniel Cross, special investigator. I have warrants for 7 on charges of trafficking and conspiracy." Ward's hand shook. "You can't." "I can," Daniel said, showing the governor's order. "The game's over." Their empire of secrets collapsed in the flickering lamplight as the truth finally came home. The sun hung low behind the jagged hills, casting long shadows as she approached Copper Ridge. Every step stirred the dust of forgotten promises. Beneath her coat, a crinkling slip of paper reminded her why she'd come. The town looked as if time had passed it by. The saloon sign still swung on rusted chains, the general store's paint peeled in the breeze, and the sheriff's office stood like a tombstone to justice long buried. But Magnolia Voss wasn't that terrified child they dragged away a lifetime ago. She was back, and she had unfinished business. She crossed the creaking boards of the porch and entered the general store. Inside, Tobias Crow, her father, was stacking tins, his hand steady until he looked up and saw her. His face blanched, and it clattered to the floor. "Maggie," his voice wavered. "Is it really you?" She studied him for a moment, searching for traces of the man who once sang lullabies. All she saw was a ghost of a father, broken by choices made. "You recognize me?" she said evenly. "Good. That'll save us time." He staggered back, knocking over a barrel. "Maggie, you have to understand, times were hard. We were starving. Your mother was sick. I never wanted 20 silver pieces." The words fell like a blade. "That's what Cora Lane paid for me. I wonder, did you count them twice just to be sure?" Before he could reply, the door behind her swung open and boots scraped the floor. Well, look what the wind dragged in," said a voice she'd never forgotten. Sheriff Silas Ward. Maggie's fingers brushed the grip of her revolver beneath her coat as she turned slowly. Ward's hair was grayer, his belly thicker, but the malice in his eyes was the same. "You still wear that badge?" she asked. "Still keeping order," he sneered. "And you're disrupting it just by being here." Ward's eyes narrowed. "You've been busy. Heard tell of a woman leaving a trail of trouble. Deadwood, wasn't it? 3 men buried in the dirt. That wouldn't have been you." Maggie kept her face blank. "Been working cattle in Colorado." Ward grinned. "Strange. They said she had a scar right here." He tapped his cheek. "Same as yours." Maggie felt the old wound burn, a reminder of the night her life was stolen. Lots of folks have scars. Not like that one. His breath reeked of whiskey. "So tell me, plain, you here to cause trouble?" "I'm here to see family. That's all." Ward chuckled. "Then do it fast. This town's got enough ghosts." As he left, he called over his shoulder, "And be careful who sees that list. Some names won't appreciate it." Once he was gone, Tobias whispered, "He knows?" "I figured as much." She fixed her father with a hard look. "Tell the town I'm staying at the Murphy place. Let them know I remember." The old house sat like a skeleton on the hill, its windows hollow, watching the town below. There she waited, gun in hand. And soon they came. Ezekiel Marsh, hobbling with a lantern and shotgun. Cora Lane with muscle at her side. And Ward, creeping through the grass. Maggie lit another candle in the back window, a signal to Daniel, waiting in the canyon. But then came a sound that shattered her focus. A child's cry. "You hear that?" Cora called sweetly. "You walk out now and Lil Emma goes home. Try anything smart and she's gone for good." Maggie glimpsed a girl, a slip of a thing, clutched tight by Cora, tears streaking her face. "What do you want?" Maggie called, buying time. "Your list?" Ward barked. "Every copy." "And if I don't?" Cora's laugh was like broken glass. "Then the girl learns the same lesson you did." The rage that had simmered for years boiled over. These monsters hadn't changed. But she had. "Fine. You win. I'm coming out." Before she moved, she raised her voice, loud enough for the town to hear. 10 years ago, 7 people here sold a child for silver. Tonight, they're about to do it again. Sheriff Silas Ward, Ezekiel Marsh, Cora Lane, Tobias Crow, Mayor Webb, Dr. Voss, Royce Barrett. Windows lit. Faces appeared. The town was listening. Ward's mask slipped. "Shut up." Maggie stepped out. "Let's trade, Cora. Here." In front of everyone. Cora hesitated, seeing the gathering crowd. "Emma, go on. Run home." The child stumbled forward, too frightened to run. Maggie urged her towards safety. But more figures emerged, Webb, Voss, Barrett, all armed, all desperate. "This woman's a murderer." Webb shouted, "She's here to ruin us." But the town was no longer listening. Mothers wept. Fathers gripped rifles. Barrett snarled, "End it, now." But Daniel stepped forward with marshals at his back. Daniel Cross, special investigator. Warrants for 7 on charges of trafficking and conspiracy. Ward's gun wavered. "This is a setup." "You're right," Maggie said, stepping from the shadows, revolver steady. "And I planned for this." Ward's desperation snapped. He raised his gun toward the crowd. "I'll take some of you with me." But Maggie was faster. "Drop it." The sheriff froze. The fight left him. His gun clattered to the dirt. The marshals bound them all. The nightmare was over. Cora glared at Maggie. You think this makes you a hero? You'll always be that scared little girl. You're right, Maggie said softly. But that girl grew up strong. Strong enough to make sure no one else goes through what she did. She held up the list, then tore it in two. I don't need this anymore. Justice isn't paper. It's what we do when it counts. As the crowd began to disperse, Daniel joined her. Couldn't have done it without you. Maggie looked out over Copper Ridge. What's next? We do it again, until kids like Emma can sleep safe. By dawn, the rage that had driven her for so long began to fade. There was one last thing left. She found Tobias, hollow and broken. I didn't come to gloat, she said. I came to understand. And at last he told her about the hunger, the sickness, the desperation, about the choices no father should ever have to make. I'm sorry, Maggie said, for all of it, and I forgive you. She left him a pouch of coin. Start over somewhere new. I'm done with hate. And with that, she rode out toward a future she could finally claim as her own. In the years that followed, Maggie became a federal marshal, feared by predators and hailed as a savior by the innocent. Together, she and Daniel brought hundreds of lost children home. Copper Ridge became a town known not for its secrets, but for its strength. And somewhere far away, a man named Tobias taught orphans that no child should ever be bought, sold, or forgotten again.